What's up, everybody? How are you tonight? If you are live with me right now, drop your name in the chat. Drop your city because I'm already see your name. Drop your city in the chat. Let me know where you're logging in from. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm so happy to be back tonight. And tonight we're going to be talking about how to boss up as a stylist. How to boss up. What does it mean to be a boss? I know a lot of people like to use that word boss, but what does it actually mean? So, welcome. What's up, Chanel from Baytown? Chanel, have you been on before? Welcome to the live. Are you a hairstylist? Let me know if you're a hairstylist and you're ready to take it to another level. If you are a hairstylist. What's up, Decatur? Hey, Sweet Harmony. Thank you for joining the live. So yeah, what does it mean to be a boss? How do you boss up as a stylist? What are the challenges that you are facing as a hairstylist? I hear so many stylists, they struggle with their business, and because it has to do with the fact that many stylists know the hair side of things. Very much like me. I know how to do hair. I've been doing hair for all of my life. But when we transition into becoming a business owner, we go from being a braider, we go from being a loctician, we go from being, anything that is outside of the craft, and we step into the full-fledged business. It requires a whole nother level of skill set and character, right? And so if you are looking to level up and to boss up, there are certain things that you're going to have to avoid and certain mindsets that you're going to have to adopt. What's up, Naima, Lisa, Serena? Sorry, y'all. Serena. So first and foremost, I want you all to understand this, that being a boss is not a title. It is a behavior. Being a boss, and see, I don't even like the word boss because I feel like it brings on this connotation that you are just a person that, oh, I own this. However, I'm not necessarily accountable. I think a lot of times people use that word very loosely, like, oh, I'm a boss this, boss that, boss this. But it's like, but what does it actually mean? Because it's not just a title, it's actually a behavior. What does it mean to actually be a boss? So we're going to break down the word boss today, and we're going to pretty much line out the mistakes that stylists make. And so when we think about the word boss, the first letter is B, right? And so B to me stands for a couple of different things, but one of the biggest things is the belief system that you have about yourself. Because in order to be a boss, a real boss, you're gonna have to have a certain level of boldness. And what does that mean? There are a lot of stylists that are so timid. There are stylists that don't know how to communicate their boundaries. They don't know how to communicate it to their family and their friends, and it keeps them from growing because they don't have boldness. But boldness stems from, what do you think about yourself as a stylist, right? And so when you don't necessarily think about yourself from a proper place, the way that you're going to act in your business is not going to be conducive for your growth. Right? So you have to have boldness. You have to have a certain belief system about yourself that helps you to go to the next level. And so I know that I've coached stylists for years, and some of the biggest things that they tell me is I have pushy clients. I have clients that know when my schedule is, and they know I'm busy, and they call last minute, and they're trying to get in knowing I don't have time, and I feel obligated. I feel obligated to get them in. I feel obligated to extend my work hours. But what that is doing is it's crossing your boundaries, right? And so in order to become a boss, you have to have boldness, but you also have to know how to create boundaries, and not just create boundaries. You literally have to have courage to use your voice. When your boundaries are being crossed. But at the same time, there's this fear of saying something. Why? Because we're concerned about other people's perception, oh, they may think I'm mean, right? And so we have to get out of the place of people pleasing, right? Because at the end of the day, when clients are trying to cross boundaries, they will continue to do that until we say otherwise. And so if you're unwilling to make those changes in your business will never grow. And so if you want to consider yourself a boss and you want to grow in business, you have to have boldness, you have to have boundaries, and you have to believe in yourself that you are worthy to speak up for yourself. Speak up for yourself. So let me know in the chat if you are dealing with issues of boundaries, dealing with issues of being bold, right? Because those are the things that you're going to have to take a look at and say, you know what? I got to change the way I'm doing business because I'm not operating as a businesswoman. I'm not operating as a true boss. Like, I'm just somebody who just does hair, but I don't know how to let people know how to deal with my business. And so what happens is people start to disrespect you because they don't really see that you're respecting yourself. And they will literally overrun you. They will overrun you because they realize, like, oh, this person doesn't know how to use their voice. And sometimes it's not even necessarily a conscious thing that they do, but when people have like a bully mentality and they're pushy, that's just what they do. That is just what they do. And they will continue to take advantage of you until you stop allowing it. So I see somebody said, yes, I took your class in Houston and bought access to the Academy Chanel. Thank you. Pink Moon says, wow, that is me. I was just admitting this. And so when we recognize that this is me, I've been timid, I have not had the courage to use my voice, something has to change. Something has to change. So we have to start asking ourselves, why am I not bold? I always tell people, you have to get to the root of the reason why you have the results that you have in your life. You have certain results in your life. You don't know how to establish boundaries. You don't know how to communicate your boundaries. And now the result is I feel violated. I feel infringed upon. And now here it is. I'm working these long hours because I feel obligated to these clients that make me feel as though if I don't do their hair, now I'm feeling guilty and I'm feeling shamed. Time out for that. Time out. If you want to be respected as a business, go to any other business and see how they do business. They're not opening up early for nobody. They're not staying late for nobody. These are our business hours. So Kanisha said, yes, I am a stylist in Maryland that runs a suite. So I have my handful that loves calling the day before because they know I'll say yes. They're taking advantage. And the sad part is we're allowing it. And I'm sorry to even have to say this, but I think it's so important that we recognize that sometimes we're the problem. Like, sometimes it's not so much the people, it's just the people have seen, oh, this person doesn't know how to stand up for themselves, this person doesn't know how to use their voice, and because of that, I'm gonna take advantage. But when you start standing up for yourself and you start becoming the boss that you were created to be, those people will leave. And you have to be okay with those people leaving. You have to be able to release them because there is another group of people that will respect your boundaries. Why? Because they respect themselves. What happens is, stylists, we attract the people that we are many times. And the more we do our inner work and the more we heal, the more we're gonna start establishing boundaries. And the people who do not respect boundaries will leave, and those who respect them will come. So I think it's really important to ask yourself, well, what's the root of this issue? Like, why do I have these results? And what is the root of this? And when you're able to dial that in, it's really gonna help you to see, like, the only way that I'm gonna grow and the only way that I'm gonna boss up and be the type of person that I wanna be is to be bold, right? Because when I think about salon ownership, now, many of you are probably full-time hairstylists, and salon ownership, whether you have employees or not, is leadership. And as you begin to lead yourself, things will change. Not only will you be able to have the right clientele, you're gonna notice that your business is going to grow. But if you continue to just let your family members get any type of discounts, make you feel like you gotta do their hair when you get off work and all of those things, you won't be able to grow because you're not loving yourself and you're not respecting yourself. How can you grow if you're burnt? How can you grow if you are burnt out? So B stands for a couple of different things. It stands for believing in yourself enough to where you are bold. And the boldness is to be able to have courage to communicate your boundaries. What are your boundaries? And so some of you need to get a piece of paper out right now and really just ask yourself, what are the biggest issues in my business? What are the things that plague me? I love the hair. But at the same time, there are certain things about my business that I cannot stand, and really it's probably something that you can change, but it's gonna require for you to change. So I need somebody to type in the chat, what is something that I cannot stand about my operating my business right now? Is it issues with your clientele? Is it just that one client that doesn't know how to act right? like what is it? So Pink Moon says, I am burnt out. Wow. Questioning if I still want to do this. I'm stepping on toes. Okay. And see, this is the thing. When people start saying that they're burnt out, there's a video that I recorded on YouTube where I kind of spoke about this, but I want to talk about this a little bit more. Like, when we feel burnt out, it's for quite a few reasons. Number one, it could just be because you're not giving yourself the rest that you need. You could just be burnt out, not because you don't want to do the hair anymore, but because you don't have balance in your life. Like, you need a work-life balance. And if you're going to be a boss, trust and believe, you're going to have a balance in your life. Number two, you could be burnt out because it could be your season to shift. Now, for me, I just have to speak about this. Like, for those of you who know, I've been braiding hair since I was a teenager, for forever. Love doing hair. And I got to a place probably about 15, 16 years in where I was just like starting to feel very frustrated. I felt like the passion was gone. I felt like I had lost essentially like the love. Like, I could do it and I could still execute well, but my heart wasn't in it. And at first it started to like frustrate me, and I was like, what's going on? Like, maybe I just need a vacation, right? So I took a vacation and it was cool, but when I got back, I still felt like I was going through these ebbs and flows and these seasons of still feeling like, no, something's off. And what I realized, it was because it was my time to shift. And I always tell stylists, like, when the gift and the grace starts to lift, it's because it's time for you to shift. And so maybe, Pink Moon, you're starting to feel burnt out it could be because you need to find some balance, or it could be because you need to like start shifting, because sometimes we are given gifts, right? And our gifts have like a grace period, and I think that that's also because if the grace doesn't lift, then we'll stay in a place that won't allow for us to grow. So if I would have stayed behind the chair, I wouldn't be in front of this camera. You see what I'm saying? And it's not to say that I couldn't have did both at the same time, but it's just to say that I need to give this particular gift the expression that it needs. And so sometimes you're feeling burnt out because there's another gift that needs to be expressed. Who knows? Maybe you're supposed to teach. Maybe you're supposed to travel. And so you have to start figuring out like what exactly that is. Kanisha says, I hate the inconsistency. I'm working what you speak of being okay with saying no. What do you feel like you're being inconsistent with? Like, in what ways are you being inconsistent? So you have to identify why you're burnt out, if you're burnt out. Kanisha said it's because she's inconsistent. Feeling okay with saying no. Listen, saying no is setting a boundary. It's literally setting a boundary. You don't require, and you're not obligated to tell everybody yes. Like, who told you that? Who taught you that? Saying no is being mean. Like, I remember, and I ain't even gonna lie, I remember when I didn't want to enforce cancellation policies. I was scared to enforce late fee policies because I was just like, oh my gosh, like, in my mind, I'm calculating the money that they have, right? And because I'm calculating the money that they have, I'm thinking like, dang, that's mean to enforce this policy. No. They have breached the contract. You were supposed to be here at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever the time their appointment was. And because you're late, there are penalties that come with that. Whether I'm not going to be able to service your hair, and or if I do take you, there's a fee that's associated with that. And so the reason why sometimes it's hard for us to communicate those things is because we haven't set the precedent already. Like, we haven't already established that. Like, before you even go into contract with people, you got to let them know the terms of the agreement. What are the terms of the agreement for dealing with me as a hairstylist? And so I know that, even in this day, there's a lot of hairstylists that have all of these rules. And I think that there's a balance with that, because if you want to establish rules, you got to hold yourself to that as well. If they can't be late, then you shouldn't be late, right? And so you cannot hold your clientele to a standard that you're unwilling to keep for yourself. But I think that it's important that you know what it is that your standards are. What are your core values? What do you operate from, right? So in my salon, one of our core values is integrity. One of our core values is teamwork. Another core value is faith. And so before you even start to go forward in business, you have to ask yourself, like, what are the principles that I operate from? And that actually goes into O, right? So we went from B, the first letter of boss, into O. And so the O is, it stands for a couple of different words, right? O stands for ownership, but it also stands for operate. What are the core values that I operate from? We operate from teamwork. So if a stylist comes into the salon and they seem like they're selfish and they don't really understand like how to work as a team, they can't work here. Why? Because you're violating our core principles. And so you have to ask yourself, what are my core principles? What are the things that I like literally abide by? This is my ruling way of doing business, to where it just never changes. One of the core values, if you think about Chick-fil-A, they value themselves on quality service. Like they have a high standard for themselves. And so my question to you is like, what is the standard that you have for yourself? How do you operate? Like, no matter what, this is the time I open up. No matter what, this is the time I close. Like, how do you operate? If you want to be respected as a business, if you want to be considered a real boss, not just a title, you're going to have to operate by a certain level of standards, right? And not only operate, which is the letter O, but you also need to take ownership. And ownership is not just like, oh, this is my business and, you know, I'm running it and I'm getting all the clout for it and it looks glamorous. No, own your mistakes. Own when you got it wrong, because in business, we are going to get it wrong. And the one thing that will put a stain on the business is not that a problem happened in the business, but more so, how was it rectified? How was it resolved? How was it dealt with? And so many people, they want to step into business because it looks glamorous. Oh yeah, I own this or I own that. But the question is not so much what do you own, but what do you own when it comes to your mistakes? You have to own your mistakes. I feel so burnt out that I get bored doing a braid, and I often feel like I can't even bother. It's doing hair is no longer fun for me. I'm gonna come back to that. You gotta own your mistakes. Own your mistakes. If a client comes in and let me think about a good mistake. Okay, I talked about this before. If you have underpriced yourself for a service, and you already quoted them and you already did a consultation, and then you get into this hairstyle and it's taking longer than what you anticipated, you got to eat it. Like, that's something that you have to own as a business owner. And so many people are like, well, I don't care, that's my time, and da-da-da. But like, you gave them an expectation, and that is unfair to the client for you to go and change it in the middle of service. Now they don't have a choice, right? And so these are the things that we have to start taking ownership for. Like, am I really a boss? Am I really doing the things that a real boss does? And sometimes we have to eat it. Like, it is our burden of responsibility to not just be professional, but to own every mistake that happens in our business and learn from it. And from that point, make adjustments. And so if you have misquoted somebody or undercharged somebody, then you have to own it and have a conversation with the client to give them expectations for the future. That if you ever get this hairstyle again, this is what the expectation is gonna be. And so when we do that, it makes clients respect us. When you start respecting yourself, when you start setting a standard, you're going to start attracting a certain level of clientele that are going to start respecting you for who you are. And not only just respect you, they're going to value you. And when they value you, they're going to pay you your worth. Oh, you charge $100 over what the going rate is in this city? I'm willing to pay you. Why? Because of your standards. They're going to be willing to pay you because of the standards that you set for yourself and the standards by which you operate. Yes, the live will always be available for replay on YouTube. The standards by which you operate. So what are your core values? What are the things that literally decide how you run your business? If something happens in your business, what is going to be the wisdom by which you operate that's going to decide how you're going to deal with that issue? If a client says they want their money back, how do you decide whether or not you're going to be able to get their money back? Like, sometimes they're dead wrong in asking for their money back. And sometimes they could potentially be right. How do you decide like how to rectify that situation? That's important. Because you can either run somebody off to where they gonna go tell the whole city, which sometimes you have that and they're in the wrong, right? And other times they are in the right. Or you can keep a client for life because you ate it and they decided, you know what? she about her business, and I'm gonna continue to come back, and I'm gonna bring more clients. See, what we don't understand is that word of mouth is so important. It is more important than any other thing that you can do in your business, is making sure that you uphold a certain standard, a certain reputation. So when clients leave your salon, when they leave your place of business, not only are they happy about their hair, they're happy about their service, they're happy about their experience, to the point where they got such a smile on their face that you don't even have to coerce them to tell other people. They are shouting your name because of the way in which you operate your business. Y'all don't even understand how huge that is. And so you have to even ask yourself, what are clients saying in the streets about me? Some of y'all be scared to even really ask that question. What are they really saying about me? Not that you should necessarily care from a standpoint of just like maybe necessarily your feelings, but it is your reputation. It actually is a representation of your brand. Like, your brand is what people say about you when you're not around. It's the indelible mark. It's the impression that you leave on people when you're not around. People think branding, and I don't even want to get off into this, is just the colors and the fonts and the logo. No, your brand is, what do people say about you? What do they know you for? That's important. What's up, Aunt? She said, I'm learning from Essence here. I want to sign up to become a professional braider. I love the encouragement. Thank you, love. Yes, listen, we do have our mentorship where we teach hairstylists. I just got to give a quick little plug. We have a mentorship where we teach stylists live. So just like how I'm live right now, we have clients in the chair, and we're going through real life situations where we're teaching you every step. Like, literally, we're not leaving nothing out. We are pouring out. Why? Because we want you to get it. So if you're interested in our mentorship, go to rareessenceacademy.com and get into it, because I'm telling you, it's the best investment you'll ever make in yourself. Because the thing with, and I'm gonna come back to this boss thing, but the thing with hairstyling, specifically for natural hairstylists, is that you don't really have the training available or accessible to you. When we think about cosmetology schools, they don't teach braiding, locking, twisting. Nobody really, there is no standard set across the board. And so what happens is, a lot of people, they have a passion to do hair and they fall into it, but they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of it. And so if you've been following Rare Essence Academy for any amount of time, you can see the work that we produce. And if it's something that you're interested in, you need to go to Rare Essence Academy and become a member or a mentee. Join the Rare Essence membership. She teaches techniques and modes. Thank you, Pink Moon. So, where are we at, y'all? Where we at? You gotta own it. You gotta have standards. You have to have. We're gonna go to the S. You have to have structure. Structure. When I was braiding hair out of my apartment, when I was braiding hair out of my parents' laundry room, I didn't necessarily have the most structure, right? Like, I knew how to do hair. I knew how to do it pretty decent at that age, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I didn't necessarily have the structure. People are gonna respect the structure. What is your structure? And so when we think structure, there are a couple of different ways in which we can talk about structure. It could be the way your business is organized. Are you organized? Are you automated? Do you have things that run without your hands being on it? Like, how do clients, what is the structure and the systematic flow of clients booking? Are they just texting you? Are they just calling you on your cell phone? See, this is half the reason why you're stressed and you burnt out, because they have too much access in a way that you should have systems in place to where you should have things automated. So much of what stylists are being burnt out for is because they're doing too much. And how do I say this? Yes, you have to do it all, but you have to have structure and systems in place that'll help you in your business. Thank you, Chanel, and thank you, Darlene, today in the mentorship. They already know what's popping. They know what's up. But what is the structure for your business, right? Like, if we're gonna be considered bosses and we're gonna boss up, we can't just be not doing our taxes. We can't be lying on our taxes, right? Because guess what? It's gonna shoot you in the foot when you're trying to make a large purchase. When you try to buy a house and we try to buy a car, you're not able to make those purchases. Why? Because we ain't had no structure. We ain't had no systems. And we didn't necessarily operate by a certain standard. Like, you're gonna have to be honest. You know what I mean? So we're talking about being honest with the income that you're making with the IRS, right? Because God's gonna bless that. But if we're over here trying to cut corners and do all types of things, there's no longevity in cutting corners. There is no shortcuts to being a successful stylist or successful business owner. You have to go about the right way. And yeah, it takes time. I've been doing hair since I was literally 15, making money. We talking about 20 plus years, and don't be trying to do the math. But I've been doing it for a very long time, and I grew. I remember when I first opened my salon and I didn't know nothing about taxes, and I was so scared that they was gonna come get me because I still was operating from the mindset of being in my apartment. I still was just, at that time, there wasn't no automation, so I just had a planner that I would write all my appointments in. I would write down how much money I made for each appointment, and but when I went into my business, I could not continue to operate in the same way. Why? Because now there's a whole bunch of other things that have to be accounted for. Now I got overhead, and now I got to report my taxes. This ain't just no side hustle no more, right? So we got to stop treating things like a side hustle if we are trying to be respected as business owners. And the more that you establish, again, the standards, the more you're going to become valuable to your clientele, and they're going to be willing to pay your price. You're going to earn more when you take ownership of your business. And if you don't know the things that are going to help your business grow, we're not accountants. You need to go talk to an accountant, right? If you don't know certain things of aspects about your business, go get the information. The information is at your fingertips. Listen, your phone has everything that you need, all the information that you need. And sometimes we just got to go look for that information as opposed to being scared. So here it is. I thought the IRS was about to come knock on my door because I was like, listen, I'm making money. I don't know what to do with this. And after a while, I had to go talk to some people who had been down this route before, and they could help me and assist me so I didn't have this fear in my mind. And some of you, you're operating from a standpoint of fear so much that you can't grow. You can't be the boss that you need to be. Yes, love, I do my own hair. All I do is twist the edges, okay? I just be twisting the edges real quick, and I throw it up real quick in a little bun, and that'd be it. Other than that, I be looking wild. I ain't gonna lie. Yes, Mama D. Yes, Mama D, for sure, for sure. So we have to take ownership if we're gonna be bosses. If we're gonna be bosses, we're gonna have to operate with a certain level of policies and procedures. And I also have a course which is called the Wealthy Stylist, that goes through all of this. We talk about the mindset that you have to have. I'm big on mindset because your business can only grow to the extent that you do as a person. And we don't understand that you cannot go and you cannot grow. Come on now. You cannot go or grow beyond your belief system, right? So if you have the results in your life that you don't like, it is predicated on what you believe about yourself. So mindset is so important. And so a lot of people don't even know how to examine their mindset. Like, you got to dig deep because it's not necessarily on the surface. You got to figure out, why am I getting these results? What is the root? And how do I change that about myself so I no longer think that, right? So if you're a people pleaser and you have in your mind, you believe, oh, if I do this, this person's going to hate me, or, if I set boundaries, if I say no, my business is going to fall apart. That's a belief system. And because you have that belief system, you will continue to behave in a way that's going to produce the results that you don't want. So now we got to go back to the belief system and say, you know what, that's not the truth. I know I love myself. I set boundaries because I love myself. And people who respect boundaries and they have boundaries for themselves will respect it too. And anybody else, they got to go. That's how you shift your belief system, but you got to get down to figure out what that is and why that is. Why that is. Indigo said, I'm glad you're talking about taxes. This is why I fear, unfortunately, as a recent cosmetology, there's nothing to fear. It's the green monster in the closet. He don't exist. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, we need to make sure that we got our stuff together. But what I want you to understand is that there is all types of information out there. And all you got to do is just document what you're making and what you're spending, and make sure you have a separate business account and that you're not mixing funds. Now, I'm not a tax professional and I'm not an accountant, so I'm only just telling you the basics of things and learning how to pay yourself. Learning how to pay yourself, because that's the other biggest mistake that the stylists make. They think, oh, since I'm a boss, like everything that comes into business is mine. No, it's not. Listen, you have to learn how to pay yourself, but the business gotta take care of itself. You got rent, you got utilities, you got insurance, you got water. Those things have to get paid. Those are fixed monthly expenses. And you got to learn how to pay yourself, and you're not paying yourself everything that you made, because if you paid everything that you made, then bills wouldn't get paid. And I'm not trying to rhyme. I just be rhyming just off the dome. I just be rhyming off the dome. Y'all don't know I'm a rapper. I be rapping too. But being a boss, what's the real meaning of being a boss? Boss is not a title. It is a behavior. A boss is somebody who's bold. A boss is somebody who believes in themselves. A boss is somebody who sets boundaries. Come on. A boss is somebody who operates with integrity. A boss is somebody who owns their mistakes. They don't just own the business, they own their mistakes. A boss is somebody who has standards. What are my standards? What are my core values? I hope y'all are taking notes. Like, these are the things that are going to make you level up. And if we continue to make the same mistakes, we're going to continue to be in the same place. So how do you establish a self-payment? Is it by saying, okay, I'm going to give myself a fixed amount? Right. You have to look at what's coming into your business, and you have to look at what has to go out of your business. Like, sometimes you're not in a place to be, quote unquote, say a full-time stylist until you know that you can cover overhead and cover all those expenses. From after you made all of your payments and all your fixed expenses, then you have to look at what's left, and you have to decide what you can pay yourself. So everybody's situation is going to be different. And so some of you may be 9-to-5 stylists who do hair on the side, right? So you have to start looking at, okay, how much money do I need to survive off of? And as you decide what do you need to survive off of, then you can decide, okay, I can't necessarily pay myself. I got this 9-to-5, so I'm not going to pay myself for my hair braiding business. I'm going to cover whatever expenses. But that may not necessarily work, because if you're in the house, that's just nothing but overhead. I mean, that's just nothing but income. So when I was braiding out of my apartment, I was just stacking. Like, I didn't have other expenses. I had a job and I was braiding hair, so all that money was just going into an account. But once I got into a salon, now I have to pay all of these expenses, and from that, now I have to realistically see, okay, from that there's $2,500 left. Okay, I'm gonna leave $500 in the account, and then I'm gonna give myself $2,000 for the month or something like that. So you have to know all your expenses. So I can't tell you exactly what that is, but we have to have the standards. We have to have the systems. We have to have the structure. And the other part of it is this, and this is probably one of the biggest things that I feel that stylists may struggle with. It's that they have to have the willingness to sacrifice. Almost don't nobody want to sacrifice, but you have to be willing to sacrifice. And you also have to have a vision for your success. Vision for your success. Thank you, Natasha. She said, I start following you. I see all the things I've been doing wrong, and I realize why after 7 years, I only have 5 permanent clients. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put a stress on that. But 5 permanent clients, because we have to change. If things, you stop laughing. If things are going to change, I'm sorry, my cameraman is over here just laughing it back. If things are going to change, we first have to change. What are we doing? Hold on, I'm going to come back to that, Natasha. Because I want you to even type in the chat, what are the things that you just identified that you are doing wrong? And one of the things I ain't even really talk about, but I'm about to go there in a second. We got to be willing to sacrifice, and we also have to have a vision of success. Thing is, if you don't have a vision of where you're going, and you don't know what success looks like to you, there are going to be things that are going to evade you, because you don't even know where you're going. You don't know where you're going. You don't even know why you're doing this. You don't even know what you're hoping for. This is a problem. This is a problem. So you got to have vision, and you got to know what success looks like to you. And so when I transitioned from my apartment into my space. Now, this is before salon suites. So there was salon suites back in, when I opened the salon, '05, there wasn't no salon suites. And so I went into a whole space, and I decked it out, got 4 chairs, sink bowls. I think I had 2 sink bowls, 4 chairs. And because I knew that I wanted my business to survive, I only got a 1-year lease. And I got a 1-year lease because I was scared to sign 5 years. I'm like, I know I love doing hair, but I don't even know what I'm doing, right? So 1 year is the only thing that I'm willing to commit to at this point in time. So I committed to a 1-year lease. And I bought all my equipment, and I paid cash because I had been stacking. So I bought all my equipment, and I, got the salon all decorated and everything. And then I had to make a very big sacrifice for myself. And now I had been braiding prior to that in my apartment. I had a 2-bedroom or 1 bedroom and a den. And that room was like, it was like a salon suite before a salon suite. And so my lease was about to be up in my apartment. And I decided to sacrifice and move home with my mama, right? And I thank God that I even had that opportunity to even do so. But I realized that if I was going to allow my business to succeed, there were some sacrifices that I had to make. Did I want to go live with my mother? Absolutely not. I loved my privacy. I loved my peace. I loved, but at the same time, I knew that if this is going to grow, I got to sacrifice. And so some of you have to get to a point where you understand that as a boss, you are going to have to sacrifice. What is going to be your sacrifice for your business? I don't know what it's going to be. It doesn't necessarily mean you got to do what I did, but it could be I can't go out. I need to save money. I need to stop being around a certain group of people. They're not going where I'm going. I have to sacrifice. And so if you want to be a boss, there are certain sacrifices that you're going to have to make. If you're going to get to the success that you see for yourself, and if you don't have a vision of what that success looks like, somebody needs to do a vision board party. Y'all want to do a vision board party? I'll do one. And really dial in what it is that you see for yourself. What does success look like to you so you can get there? I saw where I was going when I ain't going to say I saw exactly. Let me not even sit up here and be lying to y'all. When I first started doing hair, I thought it was just a hustle. It was just something I was doing on the side. I had no clue I'd be doing this 20 years later. Then I moved to Maryland, and I worked in a salon and a barbershop full time, and I realized okay, this is a cool little thing, but I still had the mindset of this world that made me think that this was not a reputable, worthy career choice. And so somehow or another, I had this stigma attached to being a hairstylist, and I didn't really see this as a real path for me. And because of that, I went to school. I went to where'd I go? I went to Hampton University for a semester, and I'm saying I was lost, y'all. I was lost, okay? I was going there, and because I had already had all these credits, I decided to go to school for air traffic controlling. I'm not knocking it, but that was not what God had for me, okay? I was like, it make $90,000? Oh, okay, sign me up. You know what I mean? That's probably not even what air traffic controllers do, but that's in my mind. I think they're in a tower, but nevertheless, okay? So I decided to go to school with air traffic controlling, and then after that semester, I had already taken out a loan, that was already against what my father had pretty much preached to us. He always told us not to be in debt and all this other stuff, and I know it was for education, but at that point in time, I just look, I'm just trying to go to school. I'm just trying to get an education. This is what the world had told me I needed to do, and so, but then hair just kept on pulling at me. So I moved back to Arizona, and when I got the law passed, for those of you who know my story, I realized this is not just a hustle. This is something I'm supposed to do. I'm called to this. And so I continued to do it, but I didn't start getting vision for it until years into it. And then I started seeing for myself, I want to have a school. Now, I have to go back a little bit because a school was already prophesied into my life years before, but I didn't necessarily have the belief in me that I could even own a school, because sometimes we think of a business, or we think of something that just seems so grand, and we think, how can little old me do that? So when I thought school, back when I was 17, 18, 19, I was just I can't have no school. When I think of school, that's some big old establishment. And so I had a mindset that I couldn't do it. But after a while, I started to get vision for it. And then I started going from from doing that to like stepping into it, and I created a vision board. Now we're going back to vision. Y'all have to walk with me because I be going off into a whole bunch of, you know what I'm saying, compartments, and I got to come back to the middle. We talking about having we're talking about having vision for your success. And so I started to develop my vision. And so you have to understand that your vision has to be authentic. We cannot be borrowing somebody else's vision. I can't take my glasses off and put somebody else's glasses on. I ain't gonna be able to see y'all because I'm like, wait, I can't even halfway see without these glasses. I'm just saying. I can't even halfway see. So I cannot put on somebody else's vision and think I'm gonna get to where I'm going. And so you have to dial in, what is my authentic vision? Where is it that I see myself going as a boss? And believe that it's possible. And so after I started getting, like, after the law was changed, that was just enough for me to be like, okay, God, clearly I'm supposed to do this. Because how is it that I done changed the law and other people are opening braiding salons and I'm braiding out of my apartment? Like, something is wrong here. And so when I got to that place where I realized, like, oh, this is something I'm actually supposed to do. And so some of you know, like, this is what I'm supposed to do, but I feel hopeless because I don't know all the things that come along with being a boss. Like, I'm passionate about doing the hair, but I don't understand what it means to do the business side of things. I don't know how to brand myself. I don't know how to set boundaries. I don't know all those things. And the thing is, there's help. There's help. Can somebody say H-E-L-P? Other people have done it. I've done it, right? And so I coach stylists on how to get there, because it's not to say that you can't get there, but somebody can help you just circumvent all the mistakes and also knock down all of those limiting beliefs that you have about yourself that's producing the results that you don't want in your life. So we got to get vision. We got to get vision of our success, and we got to start believing that it's possible. The Bible says, if you only believe. If you, like, what you mean? I ain't got to do nothing else believe, but like, yes, you do got to do something else. But what happens is when you start to believe it to a place where you, like, you know it from your core, it's going to cause you to be so bold about your vision, so bold about, like, the destiny that's in front of you. Like, you just going to plow through things, because it's like, what? Nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me. So you got to get to your belief system. And so that's what I help stylists do. And if you want to become a boss, you're going to have to start with that belief system. The way I lifted my glasses and looked around, girl, sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. These comments be mad delayed, so I just be like, hold up, when did I do that? I did that? Let me do it again. Are you ready to be a boss? Because a boss is not a title. It is a behavior. It is a belief system, and it's a way in which you operate. And if you don't know how to operate with being a boss, we have to make that transition from being just a braider, just a loctician, just a hairstylist, into a business individual, a business professional. You know, they got pronouns now, so I don't, businesswoman, business, like whatever you decide, okay? A business professional. What is that gonna take? So if you have not sat down and asked yourself these things, along with you practicing, along with the things that you're doing that are helping you get better at your skills, you have to get better at your standards for yourself and the vision that you have for yourself, so you can get there. Because otherwise, every day is just, we just doing it to do it. And then we find ourselves burnt out and stressed out because we don't have a game plan. We don't have a goal in mind. So we gotta figure it out. So listen, Kim. Listen, don't go to, is that 514? And this is the remarkable, listen, do not get me hype. I'm not going there. This is a remarkable degree of confidence, which we have as believers. We're not going there. We got to get confident. We got to get bold. But I love you all. I'm not going to stay on too long. My goal is to be live twice a week, going into topics to help hairstylists level up, to boss up, to be who they are called to be, to serve the community with dignity, with grace, with integrity, with love. Why? Because we deserve it and we need it. Because Black lives only matter when we acting like it matter. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what really is going to change everything that's going on in our communities. Like, we got to start loving ourselves, and we got to recognize, hold on, I did say I was going to come back to somebody's comment, and I forgot whose comment it was. What comment did I say I was coming? Tasha? think about like, no, I don't know. Dang, there was a comment I said I was gonna go back to. That wasn't it. Oh, I don't see it. Okay. Oh well, I forgot what it was. Oh, I asked you, what is it that, 5 permanent clients. Yes, Natasha. Are you still on, Natasha? Let me know if you're still on, because I did want to speak to that, but maybe I'll speak to it on the next live. About yes, say that again. Natasha, are you still on? Well, I'm not going to go into it heavy, but what I will say is that so much of what we do and who we are, it really speaks to not just our belief system, but the love we have for ourselves. And I know sometimes we don't even understand and correlate, okay, what does self-love have to do with me having 5 clients, right? And it's not necessarily that I'm singling you out or anything like that. It's just because I've recognized even things within myself that was producing a result that I didn't want, right? And I had to start asking myself, okay, like, what are the things that mentally and emotionally I'm dealing with that I have not even worked through? Like, what are the things that need to heal, that have yet to be revealed, yet to be expressed, that actually need some exposure in order for me to get to another place? And so sometimes we can only serve people to the degree that we've served ourselves. And I highly recommend, and I'm not saying this just for you, I'm saying this for everybody. Like, if you have not started to do your inner work and started to like go on a healing journey, this is something that will revolutionize every part of you. Again, your business can only grow to the extent that you do as a person. And so I went to therapy. I mean, I remember I had 2 salons at this time, and things was going good on the business side of things, and I'm just realizing, like, I'm not happy. You know what I mean? And I didn't necessarily know that from a conscious level. Like, it came after a while. I'm just like, why am I not satisfied with this? And so when I started to go to therapy, I started recognizing, like, oh, I got blocks. I got, there are things that I need to address, that I need to heal from. And the more we love ourselves, the more we heal, the more we're going to be able to attract that which we desire. But sometimes we're repelling it. We're repelling it with our attitude. We're repelling it because we don't know how to use our voice. Like, we're repelling it for so many different reasons, and we don't even realize, like, we're blocking our blessing. We're not even, our business cannot grow if we have not done our own work. And so as much as I'm talking about the service you provide, you can only provide a great service according to and to the level of, like, your own growth. So yeah, I went to therapy. I was so ashamed of going to therapy. I ain't even gonna lie. To the point where even y'all know Adelaide, I didn't even want to tell her, like, because we have this stigma about what therapy is, and like how, in my mind, I just remembered like therapy from movies, because this was like 7 years ago, and I was like, but I'm not crazy. But listen, you crazy if you don't go to therapy, okay? You crazy if you think it's crazy to go to therapy. Like, when we get to that place and we start really doing the work and ask ourselves, like, dang, the way in which I was raised and the environment which I was in caused me to see the world in a particular way. And because I see it in a particular way, I interact with it in a particular way. And so much of how we are is so on a level that we're not even aware of. And we got to start becoming self-aware. How am I repelling clients? Right? But like I said, I didn't want to go too deep into that. I hope that something in this live today blessed you. I hope that's something you can walk away with, that you can apply. I thank you so much for being on this live with me. Again, my push and my level of consistency is to be live twice a week. The reason why I didn't go live earlier this week is because, one of my team members got sick and we just weren't able to go live. But this is where I'm at. I'm about to be here with y'all. So do the work, get a vision, decide that you want to be a real boss, not a fake boss, and let's go. Y'all have a great night. Take care. Bye.